no. How about there are consequences for your actions, both for Donald Trump and anyone who decides to engage in rioting or violence if they don't like the outcome of his cases. And by the way, like, what does this really mean?
Tucker Carlson went on Megyn Kelly's show, and the two of them discussed the possibility of violence from MAGA Trump supporters if Trump would go to prison for his alleged crimes. Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur discussed what they think about this. We'll play clips of Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson talking about this, and also Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur giving their point of view, and I will also interject my thoughts from time to time.
If this Judge Chutkan in DC, this federal judge, because we assume Trump's going to get convicted in that case. I mean, the smart bet would be this DC jury convicts him because they hate him politically. 92% voted for Joe Biden, and she hates him. That if she puts him in jail pending appeal before the election, the country's going to burn. And then all this blowback, all these people say, oh my God, she's calling for violence. I'm not calling for violence, but there is no way the Trump base is not going to be beside itself with anger.
They might be beside themselves, and they can stomp their feet and pout like little children, but the country can't be held hostage and say we can't prosecute someone for crimes because of what an angry mob will do. That is just insane. Think of any other situation in which somebody is going to be tried for some kind of something illegal that they've done, and they'd say, the prosecutors would say, well, we better not try them because what happens if their fans would get upset and commit violence? No, you can't do that. That's insane. Also, personally, I don't think if Trump would go to prison, or if Trump loses again or whatever, that we will see that much violence. There hasn't been much violence from his followers since January 6th because the legal system and the prosecutors have done the right thing by trying those crazy people and putting them in jail. That makes the other ones think twice about this. They don't want to lose. There's been a whole bunch that have lost their jobs and also gone to prison, and we haven't seen much from them since then. So we already have a deterrent in place that if these people commit violence, they're going to be tried and they're going to go to prison and or lose their livelihoods. So they're probably going to think twice about that.
Anger at that level of deprivation of being able to simply vote for the candidate of choice. That's what's being taken away here, like to your point.
Well, yeah. And, speaking of violence, that's what you're going to get. And speaking as someone who detests violence, and I've seen war, that's why I detest violence. So I spent a lot of my career trying to argue against more wars because I think violence is the worst thing. But I'm just being honest here. If you leave people no alternative, then what do you think is going to happen?
So it's interesting because it seems to be like they're not calling for violence, but it seems as though they're excusing the possibility of that violence breaking out if things don't go the way the Trump supporters hope that it goes.
No, look, guys.
Come on.
It's obvious. So let me explain. They have plausible deniability. They technically said that they're not for violence, right?
And this is something that Fox News and other right-wing outlets have done for a long, long time. Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly both worked for Fox News and are no longer there, obviously. But Fox has done this over and over and over again. Famously, Bill O'Reilly, when he was at Fox, night after night called out an abortion doctor, and eventually someone killed that abortion doctor, went and shot him. And of course, Bill O'Reilly says, well, how dare anyone say that I could have had anything to do with that? I had nothing to do with it. But they get these people riled up, and then they commit violence. And like Cenk is saying here, yeah, they're going to have plausible deniability because they're saying, well, I'm against violence, but I'm just saying if this happens, watch out.
So I'm not saying that they didn't. You saw it with your own eyes. But when I give you the analogy, I hope it'll become clear. we were livid about how Bernie got robbed in so many different ways in 2016 during the Democratic primary, including claiming that the superdelegates had already voted when they didn't, funneling money to Hillary Clinton through the state parties. We gave all the different injustices, right? But at no point did we say, now if Bernie doesn't win, of course there would be violence, wink. Obviously there would be significant violence towards Hillary Clinton, wink, but we're not in favor of violence. We never said any of that because it was absurd. Why would you do violence? What an absurd, that's not a rational reaction to a political dispute. But here, they're.
And Cenk Uygur is exactly right. How many elections do we have? President, governor, senators, Congress. And how often do you see violence? But we have Donald Trump and his followers who try to stir this up, and it's un-American. People have elections, one person loses, their followers are upset, but they don't commit violent acts. But this is the danger of Trump and MAGA. Again, I don't think there will be much widespread violence because we do have courts in place to try these lunatics, but it's just obscene what Trump has done to politics in our country.
Bringing it up like you better not. And we're telling these people, I guess you have no choice left. We don't want violence, but if you were to touch our beloved, then I guess people would have no choice. They're triggering them, they're priming them to do the violence.
Look, at the very least, they are justifying the violence if and when it happens, right? It's, well, if you're gonna go after Trump for the crimes that he may have committed, and he gets, he's convicted of these crimes, well, then you have no choice. You're gonna have to deal with the violence that erupts as a result of that. No, how about there are consequences for your actions, both for Donald Trump and anyone who decides to engage in rioting or violence if they don't like the outcome of his cases. And by the way, what is this?
And this is where the right talks all the time about a two-tiered justice system where, Trump is being picked on in their eyes. We have a two-tiered justice system in that there's no one else that this would ever be even considered. Anybody else who would commit a crime or allegedly commit a crime, they would be tried by a jury of their peers. It would turn out however it would turn out, but no one would say, well, if we try this person, then there's going to be violence. We can't do that.
It's really mean. To take a step back and take Trump out of it entirely and think about what they're really communicating. What they're communicating is our justice system should operate based on mob rule.
Anna Kasparian's 100% right.
Who cares about the crimes that have been committed? Who cares if there was a fair prosecution? Who cares if the individual being prosecuted is convicted of those crimes based on the evidence that's been presented by the prosecutors? If the mob does not want that individual to be prosecuted and convicted, the justice system must listen to the mob.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm going to take a quick break here to say that if you like this content and you would like to see more of it, make sure to give me a like and subscribe. It really helps me out to grow the channel. Thank you.
Imagine if the other side did that. No, I mean, I guess you could convict Hunter Biden, but that would obviously trigger us attacking you and maybe killing you. But hey, I'm generically against violence, but I'm saying if you come after Hunter Biden, obviously we'd have to, people would have to resort to violence and maybe kill you. No, that's not obvious. That's ridiculous. That's insane. Why are you even having that conversation? And this is from the party that said that they were in favor of rule of law and law and order my whole life. Apparently they don't care about it at all. And the last thing is they call against generic violence, but they don't call out that violence. For example, if somebody on our side, and we've done polls that show Democrats are inclined in a certain direction, I say, do not ever do that. No matter how angry you are, do not ever do political violence. In this case, well, we're against violence and wars, but we understand obviously if the violence were to happen in this specific case. No, this is they're priming an audience already ready for violence according to the polling. And they're saying, you know what to do if they come after us. Let's go hurt them.
And look, the worst part about all of this, outside of what they're priming people for is that they're doing it even though they themselves despise Trump.
This is because it's all an act. Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson are just saying these things because they've found an audience that eats this up and they're making a lot of money from it. That's it. Much of this they don't actually believe. There's a famous story about Tucker Carlson from back in the early 2000s when the Iraq War was going on. He worked for MSNBC at that time, and he was talking about how the United States had to get involved in the Iraq War. And then as the story goes, he went outside when the show was over, was smoking a cigarette with somebody, and he said, I don't actually care about any of this war stuff. So it was just an act to make money. These people are online actors.
It is beneficial to her career to parade around pretending as though she has no problem with Trump. It is beneficial for Tucker Carlson's career to pretend as though he doesn't absolutely despise Donald Trump, even though he does. And that's what bothers me the most, that they're willing to sell out the future of the country in order to get a little bit of short-term gain for their careers.
So Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur are completely right about this. It's all fake. Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson, they don't believe half the stuff that's coming out of their mouths. Ben Shapiro's another one. They're paid actors. They don't really believe these things, but unfortunately, people believe the things that they are saying because they think they are news. And as Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur said here, they're trying to stoke the fires of violence. I hope that I'm right, that the justice system will cause a lot of this to be deterred if Trump goes to prison or if he just loses. You know, they're going to be upset if he loses, but so what? People lose elections. Like they said, the Bernie people were upset at losing. The Hillary people were upset at losing, but they didn't commit acts of violence. So what do you think? Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, are they right? Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, are they right? Which side are you on? Maybe you agree with neither of them. Make sure to give a like and a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.